Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So here it is, guys. This is going to be our top 23 books of 2023. And when I say top 23, I mean each. You're getting 46 books. So we are going to jump into this quickly because this could be crazy. But first, go for it, Mandy.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We give away free books on our channel. You don't want to miss out. And follow us on Instagram as well.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through back and forth between our bottom 10, 13, our bottom 13. When we get to number 10, because we're going in order, then we will give you more of a synopsis. We're just going to kind of give you the tropes real quickly of the bottom half of the list. And then we'll give you a little bit more once we get to that top 10, because otherwise, again, we would be here all day and we don't want to have a 2-hour-long video for you guys. So, all right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm so excited to see what you have on your list. So I'm ready.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So coming in at number 23 for me is Hitched by Lauren Beale. This is a dark hitchhiker romance. Kind of captive. Check your triggers. Loved it. Started my Lauren Beale obsession.
23 for me is Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book is a novella, but it has stuck with me for the whole year, so it had to be on my top 23. So this is about two people who find out their spouses are having an affair with each other, and they start writing letters back and forth talking about this affair.
Okay.
Loved it.
Okay. So then number 22 for me is Lyrics of Her by Karen Crompton. This was her first book in her Cold Neptune series. It is a rock star romance where a girl accuses him, of the lead singer of the rock band, of plagiarizing her music. So it's a rock star romance unlike anything I've ever read.
Yeah. Number 22 for me is Transcendence by Shay Savage. I can never get her name right.
So hard.
This is time travel back to like caveman days, and she meets this caveman and she is stuck in this time and has to figure out how to survive and can't communicate with him.
Yep. Okay. So then number 21 for me is Irish by Brittany Nicole. This is a mafia romance, but it really focuses on the characters, the main characters, more than the mafia. He's Irish mafia. She is Italian mafia. She's married to the Italian Don. He is abusive, and she is a female serial killer. Yeah, you're gonna want to read that.
Okay, mine, so 21 for me.
Yes.
Home Game by Odette Stone. This is hockey. Our heroine is homeless, like actually homeless. Like she spends her nights in a shelter, and she happens to run into a lot of trouble that our hockey god is gonna try and help her out of.
Okay. I loved that book. You guys really need to read that book. That whole series. It's awesome. Okay, yes. So then number 20 for me is Willing by Izzy Sweet and Sean Moriarty. This is a married couple that writes together. They're awesome. So this is a vampire romance. She is a vampire hunter, and he is a vampire, and he is hunting her down because she is his fated mate. He knows that. She's running and hiding from him. I've never read anything like this. This is the first in their unseries. They're actually writing the second book right now. I'm dying for the second book.
Okay, number 21 for me is Merrick.
Yep. Is it 20? What? It's 20.
Oh, 20. Sorry. Number 20 for me is Merrick by S. Nelson. This is an MC series. Merrick's the first one. Absolutely loved it. It starts off with him kidnapping a rival MC's daughter, but little does he know he's actually saving her from a horrific, abusive situation. Very dark, a lot of on-page abuse, so just warnings, but fantastic series. Yes.
Okay, so then 19 for me is Pack Darling by Lola Rock. This is an Omegaverse slow burn. She is the Omega is brought into a home with a pack that already has a male Omega. She's keeping her designation hidden. Extreme slow burn. We don't see anything happen until the second book as far as sexy times, but Very angsty. I absolutely loved it. What's 19 for you?
Lady Golden by Calla Reed. This takes us back to the Belgrave dynasty. And oh, it's just an epic love story.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Lady Golden and
the Red Herring?
The Red Herring, because it's a duet.
Yeah, they would be together because it's a duet, but
yes,
this is the first one.
Yes. Okay.
Go read
it. Just go read it. It's amazing. Okay, so
this is really hard.
I know this really was hard for us to decide between our books. It is not easy. Okay, so number 18 for me is Bren by BJ Alpha. This is the book that got me pregnant this year. The dirty talk in this book. This is a big age gap. This is mafia. She's a part of a cult and he rescues her and then things happen. But yes, yummy Bren. He's my favorite.
Mine, what number are we on? 18? King of the South by Calla Reed. This is Livingston and Rainey. Livingston gets put in charge of Rainey's dowry. They have a love-hate relationship. Banter. Loved this.
Yes. Okay. So then number 17 for me is Cute But Psycho by Beatrix Hollow. This is a paranormal romance. It is a reverse harem. Our heroine is part vampire, but the hero, she's put into a psych ward. One of the heroes is her what is he? He's a serial killer. He's a vampire, but he is her counselor or psychologist. And then she meets a couple other guys, a basilisk and a werewolf shifter. It was a fun time. It was a real fun time.
Okay, mine is Irish Kiss by Sienna Blake. This has our heroine getting into some trouble. She really didn't actually do anything, but she gets in trouble for something. And she is assigned an officer, because she's underage, to help guide her back, and hopefully to keep her out of trouble. So this is age gap romance, definitely taboo because he's in a position of authority. Absolutely loved it. If you love age gap, you will enjoy this one, especially if you like that taboo age gap, which really age gap is nothing if it's not taboo.
Yeah. I mean, come on. So, okay. So number 16 for me is King by S.J. Tilley. This is the second book in her, whatever this crime syndicate is. My brain's not functioning. Her Alliance series. It's about King and I can't remember her name. So Sienna? I don't remember. Starts with an S. Anyhow, doesn't matter. It is a crime syndicate. She witnesses him doing something that he shouldn't do. He abducts her. He forces her to marry him for her own protection. Yeah, right. Loved this book. Loved it.
Okay, mine is The Pucking Wrong Number by C.R. Jane. This is dark hockey romance. We have Lincoln, who will stop at absolutely nothing to make Monroe's life wonderful for her. Yes. Whether she's in agreement with that or not. And if he has to, he will handcuff her and force her into agreeing to his ideas.
Because he's a good guy. He really is.
I mean, just because he gets her fired from her job, he just doesn't want her to have to work.
Yeah. Okay, so then number 15 for me is Time Out, and this is by Lila Simon. This is a prison escape romance. It is a reverse age gap. This is about Nadia and Kai. Kai is the same age. So Nadia's in her 40s. Kai is in his 20s. He's the same age as her son. She's going to visit her son. There is a prison break, and Kai takes her on the run with him. So, it was so good. So good. Okay, what do you got for 15?
Mine is The Pucking Wrong Guy by C.R. Jane. This is Lincoln's best friend, Ari. And Ari has been in love with Blake for a very long time. And he goes to some great lengths to make sure he is in her orbit and that they are on the path to forever.
Okay.
Again, dark hockey romance.
All right. So my number 14, and this is probably the most popular book on my list. I didn't want to do a lot of popular, but I loved this book so much. And that is Heartless by Elsie Silver. So this is Cade and Willa's book. Cade is a single dad on the ranch, grumpy guy. It's totally grumpy sunshine. And then you have Willa, who comes in. She is quirky and fun, and she's just a little off her rocker. And she becomes the nanny for Cade's son, and hijinks ensue. And I just loved it so much. I love their dynamic.
Okay, mine was Talon by Carrie Ann Cole. Absolutely love this. It's so unique. They get put together. They're going to just get married instantly, and it's documented by psychologists who are just kind of studying how this whole thing is going to work. So they've never met. They know really nothing about each other. All they've done is described their ideal spouse, and the two of them are put together. Absolutely loved it. I love fake dating. So this is like a whole new level of that because they don't know each other and they're married and they have to stay together for the allotted time. Absolutely loved it.
Okay, so for me, number 13 is Take Me With You by Nina G. Jones. This is captive, extremely dark. Check all your triggers, but our hero captures our heroine, who he is obsessed with. It takes place in the 70s, and he keeps her as his prisoner for like a year. So, yeah, check the triggers, but definitely read that one.
Mine would be Lyrics of Her by Karen Crumpton. Jessica already talked about it. Loved it.
Okay.
We're moving things along. We're doing great on time.
I know. So number 12 for me is No Small Bet by Samantha Christie. This is another nanny romance, but this is one where our hero finds out that a baby's been born that is his, and he wants nothing to do with her. He won't bring her home from the hospital. His grandpa comes in and says, I'm going to take away your inheritance if you don't man up and be a dad. You need a nanny, though. You're only allowed to have one nanny. And that is where our heroine comes in. She's an amputee. She's missing a leg, and she just falls in love with this baby girl. And I loved this story so much. Like, he won't even name the baby in the beginning. It's just loved the story, and to see where they came. Like, yeah, loved it. Just read it. Just read it. Okay. So what's your number 12?
Okay, mine is Unexpected by Elizabeth Atten. Atten. This is rock star, totally different take on your typical rock star. Our hero is a single dad, completely devoted to his child, his son, and he wants nothing to do with like the rock star party life. And then our heroine is just really down on her luck, and they just happen to meet one night and have a one night stand that has lasting repercussions. And loved the story so much.
It was a good story. It really was. Yeah. Okay, so number 11, we're just cruising right along, is Veiled in Hate by BJ Alpha. This is an arranged marriage. For both of them, they don't want the marriage. They're rival families, and they've each hurt each other's families, so they hate each other with a passion. Especially Luca, who is our anti-hero in this book. Takes him a very long time to come to terms with the fact that he is married. And there's a lot of angst and a lot of hurt in this book, but oh man, it was amazing.
Okay. My next one is Unravel by Calla Reed. I am at a disadvantage, I feel, because you started reading a couple years before me. So a lot of my reads, my first year of really reading last year and this year, have been like all your favorites. And so I know you haven't read all of Calla Reed's books, but I feel like I was at a disadvantage because I have not only the new books that are coming out, but books that were already really good. So this was really hard. So this coming year, I think I'll be in a better position.
You'll be more like me, where there's just a few in her backlist, but
yes.
Yes.
So Unravel takes place at Fairfax, which is a mental institution, hospital type place. And it is a romantic suspense. I don't want to give anything away, but if you like romantic suspense, really great writing and some twists, definitely read Unravel.
Yes. So number 10 on my list is Fear Me, Love Me by Lilith Vincent. Oh, this is dark romance. This is so good. He is obsessive, over the top, creepy, creepy little dude. But this is about Tyrant and Vivian. It starts in the past, then goes, or starts in the present, goes to the past, and then comes back. But Tyrant is based off of the character of Jareth from The Labyrinth. And so this whole book is, and so you get a lot of those feels. He is absolutely crazy. He abducts her brother when her dad owes him money. And so she goes to try and save her baby brother. And then he becomes absolutely obsessed with her. And so this is one of those crazy over the top ones, but number 10 on my list. It was awesome.
Okay, mine is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. This, such a good book. It is a Christian-based book, but we have our heroine who has been sold. This takes place in like gold rush days. So she has been sold when she was a little child, which some of this is a little bit difficult to read, but there's not too much on page. She's sold and then she ends up working in a brothel, and she's still pretty young, but like of age at this point. And our hero is a godly farmer, and he is in town and sees her and feels like God is telling him, this is your wife. So he saves up his money and goes to buy her out of the brothel. And this is that story. And the redeeming love is just an overlying theme of the story between the couple and of God's redeeming love. Absolutely loved this book.
You got that book for Christmas. Let's tell them the story. I mean, I think it's hilarious. Just what your husband said about the book.
Oh, so I mentioned to my mother-in-law that she might enjoy this book because it's a Christian-based book. I don't know. Maybe she probably wouldn't because of the brothel stuff. But anyways, and she's like, oh, I'll have to borrow that. I was like, no, I don't love my books. And my husband is like, actually, the books are just to look at on the bookshelf. We don't touch them.
I love that he fully understands that, because I told that story to my husband and he was like, yeah, there's something wrong with you too. But yeah. So they're just to look at. We don't loan them out and we don't touch them. Okay. They're just to look at, but we do read them actually. But yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my number 9, Mandy already talked about these, but it is Lady Golden and the Red Herring by Calla Reed. This is Asa and Natalie's story. It takes us back to the Belgrave dynasty. This is historical because it takes place 1920s, I think. And I just they have one of those epic love stories. She's been in love with Asa her whole life, and it's very they have one of those hit or miss relationships. It's just the opening scene where she goes in to break up his wedding. Like,
yeah, she takes a train back to go stop the wedding.
Yes. Oh, yes. So
angsty and emotional.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Love it. So yes. That was my number 9. What is yours?
Mile High by Liz Tomford. This is hockey. This is a little bit of Curvy Girl, but it's not done annoyingly. It's like she has some self-esteem issues, but it's dealt with in a very, I want to say, positive way, where I don't feel like as the reader it's being constantly slammed in your face. That's a huge turnoff for me, and I did not find that happening in this book. And oh my gosh, so funny. Like, she's the stewardess on their private plane for their hockey team, and so she's always on there, and he likes her, so he like rings the airline attendant, the flight attendant button all the time just to ask her to do really ridiculous things and stuff like that. And I just loved this book. I could talk about it for a long time, but I know it's a really popular one. If you have not checked out the Windy City series, you need to do so. You're missing out.
Okay. So number 8 on my list is Echoes of Him by Karen Crompton. This is her newest release. Loved this story. It is her second book in Cold Neptune series. It is a rock star romance. Kale is an alcoholic and he gets sent to rehab. And that's where he meets Sienna, who is his counselor. And all the fun comes after that. She doesn't give a rat's patootie that he is a rock star. So she wants to see him healed. So yeah.
Okay. Mine is Untamed and Unruly by Kay Webster. This takes us back to the wild out in Alaska.
Mhm.
The kids are growing up, and so we have some situations happening there. Kay Webster really kind of kept what was happening in this book on the down low, so I don't want to give any spoilers. But if you enjoyed The Wild and the Free, you are definitely going to enjoy this because it is definitely taboo. It definitely makes you question things. But
Mhm.
absolutely loved it. It also is a little bit different from The Wild because there's definitely some romantic suspense, and you could actually take the romantic part off and be like, this is very suspenseful.
Okay. So number 7, we're on number 7. Okay, so I just want to say that this book could be interchanged with any book that I read by this author this year because they were all up here and I just couldn't put them all in here. And that is Paper Heart by Grace McGinty. Because she just has the new
Wait,
rock
it's
star
not
one.
Sticks and Stones?
I read that at the end of last year of 2022.
Oh, okay.
December of 2022.
Well, that
Okay,
saved
so
you, didn't it?
it did. Well, I still had like 4 to choose from, and it was really hard because her new Rockstar Romance is awesome. But this one, I loved a lot about this one. So this is about our heroine who moves to LA because she's supposed to be going to graphic design school, and she gets there and it has been a scam. There is no design school. It's like this rubble. It's just on the ground. So she ends up applying for a job and getting accepted by these 3 guys. I want to say 3 of them. It ends up being 4 total. It's reverse harem. As their website designer, their web, like they have to they all have like a cam channel that they're all on, and they have their own, and they need someone to help manage all of that. Except their naked time cam channels. It's kind of like OnlyFans, and so she walks in on that. One is a chef, one is a naked chef, one is a naked potter, and the other one just strokes big things. So there's that. It was funny, and it was good. Grace can have me laughing. It takes a lot to get me to laugh in a book, but her one-liners, I'm telling you. Okay, so what's your number 7?
Okay, The 16th Need by Calla Reed. This is football, but it's not really necessarily the main focus in this. And wrong side of the tracks, basically. So we have Sable and Sam. This starts off with them meeting each other because Sam needs a tutor and Sable's really smart. Sable is growing up in a horrible home situation. She lives in a trailer with her mom that is a drug addict and her sisters. They share one room. They have to keep the door locked. They have to keep their personal things hidden. They each work trying to make sure that they have food and their electricity stays on because their mom is just not momming at all. Sam comes from a very well-to-do family, and they for some reason, something happens and they are no longer speaking to each other. And so we kind of find this goes through some flashbacks of what happened in their relationship and where they are now. It is phenomenal because it's Calla Reed, but absolutely love The 16th Need.
Okay, so number 6 on my list. Look, guys, Mandy's going to agree. Neva Altai and her Perfectly Imperfect series belongs on this list. How many are out now? 8? So 8 books out now. We're waiting for number 9.
Yes.
All of them. All of them belong on this list. But I couldn't put them all on this list because then there's no room for anybody else's books. So I chose my favorite one, and I'm going to tell you right now, go read all of those books. So my favorite one is number 3, and that is Hidden Truths. So this one is about Sergey and Angela, and if you ask me what my favorite one is in a couple of days, I'll change my mind. But this is Sergey and Angela. Angela is the daughter of a cartel like the guy that runs a cartel. He has been killed. The person who killed him has moved into her house and said, you're going to marry me whether you like it or not. Her grandma smuggles her out and puts her onto this truck that's headed for the US. Our mafia guys here know that it's coming. They know that there's supposed to be a girl on that truck, but they don't know who it is, and they need to destroy the supply. So they go in. Sergey is off his damn rocker, but he sets some explosives. He goes in and he gets the girl. He is immediately attracted to her. He bundles her up and he is like, she is mine from here on out. And he takes her home, and she's kind of his captive, during this time. But I love it. Sergey is seriously off his rocker, and we see him throughout the books. He because of things he went through, things just don't click right. I just want to bundle him up and take him home. Okay, so what is your number 6?
The Perfectly Imperfect series.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
So I picked book number 4. I was struggling so much with this list because I had most of her books on my list. And I'm like, but then I'm forgetting these ones and I really want them on my list too. And you
Okay,
were
this was
like, I
hard.
just put them all together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
frees up so much space on my list.
This was just really hard to narrow these books down. Let me tell you.
Yes. So I picked book number 4, which is Ruined Secrets. This is about Isabel and Luca. This has amnesia. It has arranged marriage. It has age gap. Like, could this book be any more perfect for me?
Mm-hmm.
So Isabel's been in love with Luca since she was 7 years old, and she ends up, thankfully for her, in an arranged marriage with him. Luca is not happy about it because even though she's 19, to him, she's still a young child, and he's not okay with this at all. Something happens and he gets amnesia. So Isabel decides to tell him they're happily in love because Luca has this block about her age and he just won't do anything with her. And she's like heartbroken. So she uses his amnesia to his advantage.
Okay.
Loved it.
Yes. All right, number 5 on my list is The Neverland Chronicles by T.S. Kinley. It starts out with Second to the Right. There is a novella that you can read before this. You can get free on their website that kind of sets up the world. It's all from Peter Pan's perspective. But this is a continuation of Peter Pan. It is white shoes because there's a couple of lost boys that jump in there as well. But this is about Gwen. It's years later after Wendy has left. Pan is missing her. He's obsessed with her, but he's always promised the daughters of Wendy that he would bring them back for May Day and for this festival and stuff that happens in Neverland. So he goes to get Wendy. Now, Wendy is taking care of her sister who is dying of cancer, and she has this boyfriend who they're out at a club. It's her birthday or something, and he assaults her. He does something that's not cool. She goes home. Hey, look, there's Peter Pan. He's willing to take me. Now, the deal with Neverland is when you go, you forget. That's the whole thing with the Lost Boys. So she starts to forget her sister and she starts to forget home, and that is not cool. So loved this series so much. All right, what's your number 5? I'm just gonna hold.
I just need to say that this was incredibly difficult. And I feel like if in a month you asked me to redo this, I would probably still have the same books, but I could see their order moving.
Mm-hmm.
It was really hard. But one thing I did is I tried to think about what book really stuck with me the most. And so that's really kind of where my top 5 come into play is what book could I just not stop thinking about? And number 5 is going to be Saving Six by Chloe Walsh. This is Joey and Aoife. It is a big book. And there's a second one, a Redeeming Six, that is like, they're basically like a duet, even though they're in the series. So Joey is Shannon from the other books, the first couple books. She is his sister, sorry. And he has been kind of responsible for taking care of his mom. Their dad is horrifically abusive, and his younger siblings, and he has really struggled. So he turns to drugs when he is only 12 years old. And Aoife is trying to help him navigate all the crazy stuff that is going on in his life, as well as save him from the drug use. And this is so incredibly good. I absolutely loved it. Loved it.
Okay. So my number 4 is the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. This is a bind up of, I think there's 5 or 6 books. I can never remember, but this is a bind up of all the books. They're all small, like they're all short, they're easy to get through, but this is about Lana and Logan. Lana is a female serial killer. She has gone through something extremely traumatic. You have to check triggers going into this book, but I'm telling you, it is worth it. She is getting revenge for the stuff that happened to her, and she is taking these guys out one by one. And you've got Logan, who works for the FBI, and he is after this serial killer who they believe to be a man. He and Lana meet just by happenstance, and they're really attracted to each other. And then she realizes that this is the FBI agent that is after her. But at this point, she is totally into this guy. And so this is their story. It is heart-wrenching, but it is so good. Everybody should be reading this. Everybody. Okay. Mandy.
Okay. Mine is Luca by Cora Riley. Oh, so Luca and Aria are in an arranged marriage. This is like I call it, basically it's like a companion novel to Bound by Honor. And that's the first book in that series. So I read this with Bound by Honor, but I picked Luca because I love Luca. So Luca has been raised in a really brutal mafia world. His father is horrible. And he has a fantastic bond with his brother Matteo, and I absolutely love the two of them together. And they do not want to mistreat their women. But Luca doesn't really know how to be a good husband. And so he's in this arranged marriage and he goes above and beyond for Arya, but he also feels like Arya doesn't want to be married to him, but Arya wants to try and make the marriage work. And so there's some communication problems. It's not really miscommunication. It's just Luca is doing his thing and Arya is trying to get through to him. So Luca does some really stupid stuff, but when you read this book, you really understand his side. And I just absolutely loved him and Matteo's relationship. And I love how he really tried so hard to be there for Arya. Even though he's this brutal man in his world, with Arya, he is not. And that is the hero that I love. I love that hardened man who is totally different for his woman. And I love that touch her and die. So Luca,
We all
love him.
Yes. Okay, so you guys ready for the top 3? This is hard. This is really hard. Okay, so in my number 3 spot, The Third Storm by Liz Hamilton. This is what?
I think I know what number 2 and number 3 are going to be.
Number 2 and number 1?
Yeah, number 2 and number 1, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so The Third Storm by Liz Hamilton. This is a post-apocalyptic story. This is a trilogy. There are 3 books. It follows the same couple. So this is about Rowan. Our world has been destroyed by these storms and there are floods everywhere. And she has this ex-fiance who is a part of the military. And he says, if you can make it to this boat, there is a spot for you. There was a woman who was military who passed away, who had 2 children and a husband. And so she and her 2 nephews, Bo and Lewis, who she calls Baloo, she's in charge of them. Her sister has died. She and them are trying to get to this boat. And along the way, they see this guy in a ditch who's been, he's unconscious because he's been badly injured. She wants to leave him. The boys are like, absolutely not. And so they go and they get him and they take him with them to this ship. Now, because this other girl had a husband, she's able to tell them that this is my husband, Sam, which is the name of, they start calling him Sam. And so then they get onto this ship and they're confined in this ship in this little tiny shoebox of a room. And so, and they have to play husband and wife. And so this is one of those where it starts out, you're in the thick of it and it just never ends. It is high action through the whole books, all 3 books. And I loved the story. The audio for this one book comes out in January and I will be listening to it for the first time, but rereading them because I want to hear it with the audio.
Okay.
Okay. What's number 3 for you?
Echoes of Him.
Okay.
By Karen Crompton.
Yeah.
Loved it. I loved the taboo. I loved the slow burn. I just, it was everything. And we already talked about it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. This is where I have a problem.
Okay. I know what 2 books they are, and I thought I knew the order, but now I'm not so sure.
I know, and there's part of me that just kind of wants to switch them around, but I just... Okay. Number 2 is 9 minutes. There was a long time where I had it as number 1 because of the emotions it invoked with Mandy and I reading it together and talking about it so much. Like that is between the 2 of us. This is number 1 for the. There goes my magnet. Thanks, Beth. But this should be number 1, at least between the 2 of us, right? Like it is in a lot of ways. But my number 1 really sat with me. So, I mean, they're kind of tied for that number 1 spot. But anyhow, 9 Minutes by Beth Lynn. This takes place in the 70s. This is about our heroine who gets abducted when she's 16 when she's abducted. 15. Jenny is 15 when she gets abducted by this guy who takes her into this motorcycle club. And then eventually the president of the motorcycle club marries her when she's underage. And it all goes from there. When I say that the epilogue, or not the epilogue, the prologue had me like clenching my chest and calling Mandy and demanding she read this book, we are not joking. I am not joking. The epilogue had me a mess. And then it was 3 days of Mandy and I trying to call each other back and forth. Where are you at? I was camping. I had to go into where I had service so that I could call Mandy so that we could discuss this book. My husband just loved that. But anyhow, yeah, 9 minutes. It's a trilogy. This is an all-time favorite. I just don't even know what else to say. I'm sure you'll talk about it in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, number two. Wait, this is number 2? 2.
Yes. The Lovely Return by Carrie Ann Cole. And there must be a theme because cried in the prologue. Cried in it. So we have Slow Burn. We have Age Gap. We have Reincarnation. We have Forbidden Love. I mean, it is Carrie Ann Cole, so she did not disappoint at all. This is about Penny and Alex. And Penny is a little girl that shows up at Alex's house. And she just knows things that she shouldn't know about the place. And they form this unlikely friendship because she's really, like, she's only like 6 or 7. I want to stress, there's nothing disturbing about their relationship when she is young. It's strictly just this little girl. He has completely closed himself off and he works in his shop, and she kind of just shows up and they form this very unlikely friendship that is completely innocent. And then as she gets older, some things change there. Oh, it is so good. It is heartbreaking. I absolutely loved it. It's hard to talk about because I don't want to give spoilers, because it is best if you read it without knowing much more than what I just told you. You will not be disappointed. So the takeaway, I think, from this video is go read Carrie Ann Cole, Karen Crompton, Neva Altide, Calla Reed, the Mindfuck series, Beth Flynn.
Yep. Just take these authors.
And Jessica's number 1.
Which is what, Mandy?
Unseen Messages.
Yeah, my number 1 is Unseen Messages by Pepper Winters. Now, I read this like in February. I read it early in the year, and it has just stuck with me all year long. Now, it is a big boy. It's a thick book. But this one actually had me crying, and you guys know I never cry. Never. But this is about Estelle, who is our heroine. She is YouTube famous. She's a singer and songwriter. Her friend put a video on YouTube and it just took off. And so she's from Australia. She's been traveling the States through the summer, doing like a tour for these people, putting on concerts. And now she's on her way home, and she has to go from California to Fiji to home. So when she's at the airport, she meets this other family that have the same last name as her. It's a husband and a wife and then 2 children. And then she meets our hero, who is, I cannot remember his name. That's okay. It'll come to me in a minute. Galloway. She meets Galloway, and he is very dark. He's just surly. He's dealing with a lot. He's got some issues. He is headed to Fiji to do to work on one of the islands outside of the main island, building homes, and he has to get there by a certain day because he'll lose his job otherwise. And so they're all traveling. This book is about those messages we see along the way, because when Estelle gets to the airport, her ticket's wrong. It's for the wrong day. And then she goes through TSA and something happens. And then she has a problem with her boarding pass. She has a problem with customs. There's like all these little messages that are telling her, do not get on that plane. But she gets on that plane and she doesn't make it home. Her and Galloway end up crashing on a deserted island outside of Fiji. And they are there for an extremely long time. Like, it's not a couple of years they were rescued. They are there for a very, very, very long time. There's no water on that island. There's no water source. They are not, they're not survivalists. They don't know how to survive. And so this was very real. This was very raw. It has my heart. It really has my heart. It is number 1 for the year. All right. I think I know what your number one is. I'm pretty darn sure.
I know, you already stole my thunder.
I'm sorry. Okay, tell us.
You did that on quite a few of my books.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Okay, number one read for me is 9 Minutes by Beth Flynn. And like I said, I really thought about which books stuck with me the most. Which books could I just not put down? And 9 Minutes, it is a trilogy. So while this book looks like an average sized book, you got to take into account that we had 2 more books to read with this. And this was something that I did not want to put down. I literally didn't. I can remember exactly where I was when I started reading this book and where I was when I finished this book.
Yes.
And while we read a lot, it's pretty easy to not have those things stick in your core memory. But this book just stands out so much for me.
Yeah, it's and I think for us too, just as friends reading it, it was just there's no words. There's just no words. It was pretty epic. And like you said, I remember where I was. I remember all the phone calls. I remember the in between, the beginning, the end. I remember because I listened to the audio. So I listened to the audio in my car and read along at the same, not while I was driving, but I listened to my audio in the car, but then I was listening and reading along when I could. And I remember that prologue just, I was like, this can't be real. So, yeah. So
I was at Legoland. I can remember sitting on the bed while we were getting ready for bed that evening and starting it. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
I'm reading it.
Yeah, because you're on vacation. I'm like, you better get this book right now. So, yeah. All right, guys, that is it. Those are our top 23 each. So those are our top 46 books of 2023. Wow. We did it.
We did.
We did.
We each have some books to read off of each other's top list.
Yeah, we'll see what makes top 2024.
Definitely. I need to read the Mindfuck series and Unseen Messages. Definitely.
And for me, the 16th Need and The Lovely Return are top of my list.
Yeah. You need to read this.
Yes. So, all right, guys. So that's it. That is a wrap for 2023. Your turn.
Okay, tell us in the comments what was your top read, or even give us your top 3 reads in the comments. We would love to see what those are. And, that could be a future video for us too, reading your guys' top reads.
I love that idea. Let's do that.
So give us your top 1, 2, 3 reads of the year in the comments below so we can read those, and then make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2024.